Good morning YouTube, it's Saturday the 21st of February and the 4th of Ramadan or something like that. But I'm here in central London with my top hat and we're going to have a quick look at Brunswick Square Gardens as well as visit the Charles Dickens Museum, hence the drip or the clothing as some people would say. So just having a little bit of a walk until the museum opens. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, 1817 to 1898. Muslim reformer and scholar. We've got the knocker from Scrooge. Bong, bong, bong. It's a rather interesting looking fungus here, all grouped together on this flower bed. This fountain here was erected in 1870 by the Whitting sisters in memory of their father, Mr. Francis Whitting. The statue at the top actually depicts the biblical figure of the woman of Samaria. What's quite interesting is it's right next to this Victorian toilet. You can see you've got the old Victorian gates here. Obviously this must have said women or male. And down there, entrance is turned into a bar. So you can go here and get a drink. Wonder how much they are. Pricey by the looks of it. But yeah, once a Victorian toilet, now a bar. Only in London. Brunswick Square Gardens. So this little plant here, we walked in the park, very pungent smell. Oh yeah, this the one we just saw the bee on. So I was just reading online and it says this plant is an image of a sweet box, botanically known as Sarcococa confusa. I'm definitely confused. Here we have a wonderful example of a London plane tree which has been let to sprout fully. So you see these all around London actually. Most of Buckingham Palace Garden has a lot of this, but normally they chop off all the corners on the sides here to make it obviously not sprout into the road or into someone's front room. But it's nice to see one that's been left to grow. Here's my kind of Charles Dickens inspired talk on the London plane. And behold the London plane tree, stout of trunk and unbothered by the chaos of men, while carriages have become cabs and smoke merely learned new diseases, this great survivor finds and stands firm, shedding its bark as a gentleman sheds his coat, quite unapologetically. Wow, okay. I'm not a great reader, but that's very poetic. We were just talking about the tree and we've come across an information board. So they call it the Brunswick Plane, acclaimed to be one of the 10 great trees of London in 2008. They say this dates back all the way till 1796. Very cool. Little daffodils. Big daffodils. Some famous residents of Brunswick Square Gardens. So I'm just looking at this wall here with a bit of history on it. It talks about the land here by William Lamb, who rebuilt the Holborn Conduit, bringing clean water to the city of London. So actually this utilised the River Fleet, which is one of London's, should we say, lost rivers. So we obviously had the River Thames, there were other rivers that also were here, but the River Fleet was actually built over time and time. So beneath us now there's a river called the River Fleet, which is now incorporated somewhere into the sewage systems in London. Love is the answer. A balloon view of London.
Left-hand side.
Here we have a map looking at the total damage in this area. So black obviously means total destruction. You see quite a few buildings, well most of them were actually destroyed up around this area. War does take its toll. Well, that one says Nelson's State Coffin, commemorating the something of Trafalgar certificate of, and a picture of the HMS Victory. There we are. in memoriam of Admiral Lord Nelson, who died for his country October 21st, 1805. Maybe this place did his funeral. It's old enough. Very cool. There are obviously loads of lovely, beautiful old houses. And you see outside, they've got these holes on the ground here. These are actually called coal holes. So obviously back in the day they didn't have central heating, didn't have gas, everything was done via fire to warm both the house and the water when they wanted to use it, and the stoves and so on. So there used to be a steady supply of coal to all the houses. And obviously because these houses were built during those times and people didn't want to haul coal in through their front door, they used to have a basement where they used to get it delivered to. And yeah, they used to lift up the hole here, pour it straight down, and then whenever they need coal for the house, they'll just take it from the basement, or the servant would, whoever at the time was living there, and then distribute it around the house accordingly. Little bits of history that you don't normally see. Roads are all dotted with them all around here. Another blue plaque. This whole place is done with it. This is Dorothy L. Sayers, writer of the detective stories. Very famous. Randomly, I just saw the Brazilian flag here. I said, what's this all about? It's called the Brazilian Aeronautical Commission in Europe. I'd consider myself an aeronautical man, so maybe I will move to Brazil. But it's an interesting one. See, this is the thing, you go around London and you see all these little bits you don't normally see. They're not tourist attractions, but it's history. How many coal holes we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Outside every single address, you've got a coal hole. And some have really cool designs on them as well. Look at that. There we are. This one says Alfred Solomon's 195 and 197 Caledonian Road, NI. Northern Ireland, maybe? Another lovely design. T. Sampson's Limited, Euston Road, NW. Hayward's D. Patent Self-Locking Plate, Borough of London. Ironmonger, 294, Crays Inn Road, EP Sexton. So many different designs, look at that. Well, 10 o'clock the museum opens, and we are actually late. It says you're late, but we'll get there. Here we are approaching the museum now. Beautiful houses. And we've got the Charles Dickens Museum. Bah, humbug! 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 Let's go see the Charles Dickens Museum. We have the dining room. Very fancy indeed. Beautiful set table. Got the silver. Lovely photos. I think that looks like it's from Oliver Twist, maybe. You never know. Well, it says there, Susanot of Switzerland, 1934. Obviously got to have the grandfather clock.
The first writer of the Major and Dickens biography, Forster came from a similarly family background.
Going towards the washroom at the rear. Everything was done by a lamp back in the day. In China. Hang up your herbs over here. This looks like where the servants would sit in the kitchen and the area to relax. Here in this dark place, there's no electricity, very little. Very cold in the winters. You've only got a little bit of fire to help yourself. Would be very, very busy down here, cooking every day, 3 times, 4 times a day, tea. Look at this. Hedgehogs were sometimes kept in Victorian kitchens to eat insects, as there was a constant war against bugs. Keeping your kitchen clean was seen as both a matter of hygiene and also a moral duty. A dirty house was seen as it would produce dishonest people. And here we have a hedgehog next to the stove. The wine cellar used by Charles Dickens during his time in Doughty Street has been restored and refitted with financial assistance from the National Wine Club or something like that. There we are. Must have been quite a heavy drinker, but he had a lot of guests. But I've just noticed there's a little mouse. The drawing room.
It wasn't on.
Very nice.
Okay. I was hoping yeah. So,
Chunky kept it.
So, when you turn it on, you'll hear a beep.
Charles Dickens Museum.
So now it's on. So you could go.
The angel of the house is the Victorian ideal of what a woman should be, domestic goddess, keeping the home life stable. And Dickens' home life was shaped by two extraordinary women, his mother, Elizabeth, and his wife, Catherine.
Oliver Nancy.
The desk of Charles Dickens. The bedroom of Charles Dickens. Looks quite comfortable, actually. 4-poster bed. Fireplace to keep you warm. Doesn't look like a very big bath. And a dressing table. Not a bad view either. That's the end of the Charles Dickens Museum. We go back to the car. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was just a short one. I like to visit these small museums that are not so common to visit. Kind of all came periodly dressed today. But before I end, I'll just read you an extract from one of Charles Dickens' stories, or The Tale of Two Cities. I thought it responds quite well to what we're seeing today. It says, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, but we had nothing before us. We're all going directly to heaven, and we're all going directly the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insist of it being recovered or received, for good or evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only." Don't really fully understand that, but it's quite interesting to see how, he was very imaginative, and obviously that's what he was famous for, was looking at the best of times as well as the worst of times in Victorian London, or at least also Victorian Britain. But we'll head back to the car. Thank you very much for watching Chunky Captain. Chunky Captain out.